And now Professor Yang Yuguang from Beijing. He's with China's Aerospace Science and Industry Corporation. Always a pleasure talking to you. Talk to me about international recognition of China's Space Day. Diplomats from more than a dozen countries will be at the ceremony in Xi'an. How important is that?
Well, good evening, Mike. So nice to talk with you again. And you know that China always recognizes international cooperation as a very important and very necessary part of China's space activities. This has been released in the China's second version of its white book of space activities. And besides, we get this recognition, I think, not only because our space activities has a very large scale, and also because we have already been more open to the whole world. We already have a very close relationship with Russia, and also in recent years, we have engaged many space science programs with Europe. In the future, I also hope that we can have some cooperation with the United States. So in the future, we've already been prepared for this, and the China Maintenance Agency, Mr. Zhou Jianping, the chief designer, also said that China's future space station is open to the whole world. We hope that there will be chance for foreign astronauts visit this station, and also we hope that in the future there are spacecrafts of other countries to visit this station, and even we can have the modules of this station made by other countries.
Professor Yang, I saw you here in Washington, D.C. when you were back here for a meeting of people involved in the space industry. And even then, we were talking about cooperation between the United States and China. Still seems to be a sticking point more on this side in the U.S. Do you think that'll ever be erased?
I think that China, although we've already been a very influential and powerful space-capable nation, but we do not play a leading role in the world. The U.S. is. So in the future, it's meaningless for us to compete with each other. We should have more cooperations, and this can benefit China, benefit U.S., and benefit the whole world.
You know, recently I was reading an article about the private space industry, which I haven't really thought about. Most of the time we talk about the government's efforts. This article from late last year that said China's private space industry prepares to compete with SpaceX. Talk to us a little bit about the private space industry there in China.
Well, talking about the private sectors, I prefer to talk more about the commercial space activity. You know that in China, I think we can duplicate the success mode of SpaceX because we facing the different policies and different circumstances. So in China, we do. You are correct. We should encourage the private sector to invest more in the space activities and taking part in the space activities, but we state-owned companies also should have more commercialized activities in space. This will benefit the national economy and also promote the development of the technologies. So in the future, I hope that in China and also in the international market, we can see more companies, either state-owned or private ones, to attend the space activities either for the commercial purposes or purely for space science and space exploration.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what China's been doing, because the Tianzhou-1, the space cargo ship, just had a recent launch. What does this mean for China's plans for space?
You know, Tianzhou-1 mission, the cargo spaceship mission, is very important and critical for the construction of China's future space station, because to maintain a space station in orbit and to keep long duration of manned activities in space, it is very necessary to have resupplies to the station. So mastering the cargo ship technology, which has already been mastered by US, Russia, Europe, and Japan, it is very necessary for China to master this technology. And besides, our Tianzhou spaceship will be the third one in the world, just behind Progress and 8V, to have the refueling capabilities to the station, which is also very necessary and be recognized as one of the 5 most fundamental and important technologies for the future preparation of the space station. And I believe in 2018 or 2019, after launching of the first core module called Tianhe, the experimental core module of China's future space station, the Tianzhou cargo ship will also provide supply to this station and support the astronaut to stay there even for half a year.
Professor Yang, good to see you again. Thanks so much for your analysis.
You're welcome, Mike.